Good morning, everybody, and welcome out to the Infusionsoft Mastermind webinar this week. My name is Scott Richens, host of the Mastermind Calls here with you, and I am excited to be with you here today as we talk about one of the topics that was voted up by you guys, and that is WordPress plugins. So how do you go through and supercharge your website with WordPress plugins? So that's what we are going to be covering here today. Let me go ahead and flip on my presentation here. Got a couple things to get started with, but give me a shout out if I'm coming through loud and clear. If you can hear me, let me know where you're joining us from. We've got quite a few people on the call here today, so let me know where you're coming from. Let's make sure that everything is good to go. Fantastic. Looks like we're getting some people to start to shout out. The way these sessions go, if this is your very first mastermind call, on the right-hand side of your screen, you will see a GoToWebinar dialog box. And on that dialog box, you can type in some questions. Those questions come to me directly, and what I'm able to then do is take those questions and speak to them as we go throughout the session. Now, I won't always be able to go through all of the questions during the session. As a matter of fact, I will not be able to speak to most of the questions as we go through that. But I will stick around afterwards to go through a Q&A portion to talk about some of the things that we cover here today. So if I don't answer your question as we're going through, you don't have to ask it a second time. Just be aware that I will circle back around and go through all of those questions as we get to the end of the call and go through some Q&A. So it looks like we've got quite a few people joining in here. We got Michigan, Texas, Chicago, Central Virginia, Vegas, all over the place. So good to have you guys here. We will go ahead and get started here. If you want to connect with me on Twitter, I do post up announcements about when these recordings are available and some of these tips and tricks. If there's anything that I cover that you guys want to know about, further about, or get some links to, I will post out links to those directly through my Twitter account. So feel free to follow me on Twitter. My Twitter handle is @ScottRichens. I also included that at the bottom of the email that I sent out to you guys last night. So you can just click through there and you'll have access to my page. Okay. Now, a couple announcements here real quick. One is the Virtual Academy. If you are brand new to Infusionsoft, if you have new users within your office that you need to get up to speed with Infusionsoft, send them to the Virtual Academy. It's a free live webinar series that I host, and I'm bringing some other folks on to help out with that. These are free webinars. Take advantage of them. We get a lot of great feedback from people that have joined Infusionsoft, and they begin to learn the foundations of Infusionsoft through attending these webinars. They're live webinars. We do Q&A during those just like we do here, but they're really designed to focus on some foundational topics, whereas Mastermind gets into a little bit more depth and some more ninja tricks with Infusionsoft and some advanced marketing techniques like we're going to hit here today. But if you've got some newbies that are trying to get into Infusionsoft and get up to speed, then I invite you to check this one out. Help.infusionsoft.com/academy. The other thing that I want to tell you about, make sure that you're aware of, is our Infusionsoft University that is coming up in London. Infusionsoft University is a live group training event that we will do. We'll have about 75 people out there when we max out, and we'll be coming to the Park Inn there near Heathrow, the Heathrow Airport. If you are in the London area or in Europe at all, that's where we will be. We invite you to come sign up, register for that event. That is a paid event. It is a 2 or 4 day event where we dive deep into Infusionsoft. We'll cover the basics, we'll cover some advanced techniques, and we're bringing myself, Jordan Hatch, Francis Jones, some of our best trainers that we've got here at Infusionsoft to come take care of you. So feel free to check that one out. That is Infusionsoft.com/UK University. Now, as I mentioned here at the beginning, you guys decide what we talk about here on these particular calls. You can go in and vote up and submit different topics. This particular topic was one that was submitted a while back and was voted up by you guys, had by far the most votes. And you can do that at mastermindwebinars.uservoice.com. You can go to mastermindwebinars.uservoice.com. You get a certain amount of votes on that you can vote up topics that are important to you. Now, because this particular topic is so big, WordPress plugins and things that you can do to supercharge your site there, I'm going to focus on a very particular part as we get started. If you guys want more of those, then give me some good feedback here towards the end if you like what we're covering, and I'll bring these particular topics back. We'll make a series out of this particular one just because it's so big. So again, what we're covering today, supercharging your WordPress site through plugins. Now, I started looking at all of the plugins that are out there. There are over 25,000 plugins at the WordPress.org plugin site. There's just so many to sift through. And so I was trying to find a way to really make some things relevant here, really pull some things together. And I decided to look at lifecycle marketing. Okay, this is the marketing path that we talk about here at Infusionsoft a lot. All small businesses ought to be looking at their lifecycle marketing plan and being intentional about the way that they are walking their customers and prospects through a life cycle. How are you attracting interest? How are you capturing those leads, nurturing those prospects, and moving forward? And so what I decided to do here was really start by focusing on capturing leads. There are some things there that we can get into pretty quickly, pretty well, that will get you some quick wins. And so that's what I want to cover here today. If you guys like what we're covering, again, like I said, let me know here towards the end. I'll do a poll before we wrap up, and we'll bring this back. We'll start focusing on some of the other areas here of lifecycle marketing, and I will probably pull in some other people that have some expertise in SEO or otherwise, if that's something that's of value to you guys. So here's what we're doing here today with this lifecycle marketing and focusing on capturing leads. What I did is I reached out to our Infusionsoft certified consultants community. Now, I've done some work with WordPress, but I wanted to reach out and find what are people out there using. What is it that folks are using on a daily basis with their customers and implementing this? So I reached out to our Infusionsoft certified consultants community. If you want to know more about them and who they are, you can go to marketplace.infusionsoft.com and you can just click on consultants. We have a phenomenal group of people here that we partner with who are considered our consultants. We've got them around the world, and many of them offer some services that we don't do in-house here at Infusionsoft. You don't hire Infusionsoft to design your website, and so that's why I reached out to these particular folks to get some feedback from them. And so there are some things that we're going to start going through here today that were recommended by some of the ICCs, the Infusionsoft certified consultants. I'd like to recognize them as we go. So here's what I want to start off with. The very first one, let me jump into my application here. Let me jump into WordPress. I did a fresh install here so we could be working with a clean install of WordPress. One disclaimer I want to throw out there. Plugins, I'm thinking of Office Space here, okay? Plugins can slow things down. They can be distracting. I'm thinking of the movie Office Space, and they all had flair. Plugins are kind of like flair on your websites. Okay, they can get distracting if you have too many things going on, right? All these plugins just doing different things. It's like different pieces of flair that they got in that movie that you wear on your vest. And they can just become distracting. They can become overkill. They can also slow down and degrade the performance of your site and make it more difficult to maintain. So what I want to recommend to you is that you be very judicious in those plugins that you select to install and utilize within your site. Don't just go through and start installing all kinds of different things on your production site. Consult with a web developer if you've got one to work with. Do a little bit of research on things. These are ones that I have worked with some, like I said, some of our ICCs that they use on a very regular basis, so I trust the recommendations there. But I want to throw that out as a disclaimer as we're getting started to be cautious when you are choosing to install these plugins. Make sure you don't overload your site and degrade your performance by installing too many different knickknack plugins. Tony, thanks for the reminder there on recording. I did start hitting record here right at the very beginning. So one of the first things that I want to cover, this was one that came from Jordan Hatch. He said he wanted to throw out a theme, actually, that he's been using here quite a bit. And so there's a theme that he's been using to develop some sites called the responsive theme. So if we jump in here to themes, I just wanted to start there real quick. It's called responsive. And with everybody going mobile these days, so many people on mobile devices, it's very important to have a website that is mobile optimized. And so what happens with that responsive theme is it's pre-built to be mobile. So notice here, it's pre-built to be responsive. Notice here how I have a navigation up top. I've got this main headline here. I've got these widget boxes over here. But as this shrinks down, notice how it automatically resizes and reframes. As a matter of fact, right here, my navigation even completely changes. Okay, so there's a lot of benefit to having something like this. I sent myself an email, a screenshot from my iPhone so that you guys can see what it looks like on there. And here's what it looks like on my iPhone. Okay, so it appears, it looks professional, it looks clean and crisp. Still on your mobile devices, it's a one-size-fits-all type theme. So that's one of the first foundational pieces I wanted to point out here to you. Any theme that you look at, this isn't the one that you necessarily have to use, but it is a free one, and it begins to give you a responsive site. There's a lot of options that you can then begin to go in and customize within there. Let me jump into that particular theme option. You can customize the titles and information of your pages. You can go into your widgets and menus to begin to then customize which widgets are appearing on your sidebars and otherwise. But it's a great out-of-the-box tool that you can begin to use. So that's just a quick one that I wanted to cover. It's not a plugin, but it is a theme that then gives you that mobile functionality as well out of the box. Now, let's jump into some themes here. As I mentioned, I wanted to start here on the lead capture part of things. And one of the first ones that came up that was mentioned by a few of the different ICCs, one of them that I spoke to about it in length was Gareth Everson out of the UK. He is with 8 Success Drivers. He recommended one called Gravity Forms. And Gravity Forms, let me pull up Gravity Forms here. Again, I have no interest in any of these, so as I promote these, there's nothing coming back our direction here, just pointing out things that we've found are very useful for some of the Infusionsoft users. Gravity Forms is a form builder that you can purchase. Now, this is a paid one. You can get it for $39 for a single site, but let me show you some of the things that you can do. I'm going to jump into WordPress here again, and when you install Gravity Forms, you get this Forms tab over here on the left-hand side. And you can go in and begin to create some forms. Now, you can create forms in Infusionsoft. You can stylize some forms more within Infusionsoft. What Gravity Forms enables you to do, though, is create some options that you can't do within Infusionsoft. And so that's why I wanted to pull this one out here today. I started to put one together. So let me click through on that and show you how this one works. What you're able to do is simply drag out some fields here. And as you drag out those fields, you can begin to customize those fields individually. Okay, so as I click edit here, you have some options as far as your labels and descriptions related to it, whether or not you make it required. That's all stuff that you can do in Infusionsoft. What you can also begin to do is make it hidden or visible to everybody. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But you can also begin to specify the CSS class name. So by default, I simply created one of these forms. Let me show you the page where that form is hosted. Notice how it takes on some of the styling already of the rest of my page, the rest of my site. Okay, it inherits a lot of the CSS formatting that is already in play on my site, so it looks like it fits there with my site, automatically jives. So that's one of the benefits there of the Gravity Forms portion. You can also, if you need to override what the style is for these particular form fields and otherwise, you can specify a CSS class name to then override that. Now, what you're also able to do here is begin enabling some conditional logic, and this is something that you're not going to get out of the box with Infusionsoft, which is where this can become very handy. So notice, let's say I ask a question like this one. How long have you been in business? Actually, let me show you one here. This is another one of our Infusionsoft certified consultants, Sean Tierney with Grid 7. He had a great example here of a gravity form that he had put together. Notice as I choose an option right here, the information down here changes. The options that I'm asked for are conditional. So as I choose some different options here, different boxes then appear. I can do some check boxes down here. Great, that's gathering some information. But as I'm choosing these different options, I am then presented with conditional options. So let's go through here. Again, I've added some fields here, first name, last name, email. I can create some labels here. Again, what we've got over here on the right-hand side is we're able to just pull in some different field types. So I pulled in my name and email address and placed those here. And then I pulled in a standard field and just created a radio button. And you can begin to, this is very similar to Infusionsoft. You can go through and you can begin to create these these options within here. But then as you create your additional fields, for example, what was your motivation here for starting your business? Maybe I want to ask that one only to people that have been in business for less than a year. Well, fantastic. I can click advanced and say, I want to enable conditional logic, and simply say, show this field if any or all of the following match. And I can make it based on specific criteria that are referencing other fields that I've created here through this particular form. Okay, I can do the same thing. So this one right now says only show this particular field. What was your motivation for starting your business? Only show that if you've chosen the option less than 1 year. Wonderful. Then the other option here is what is the next step for your business? I can make this show if they choose any of the other 3 options. So now it will show one or the other. So let me show you how that works in application here. So notice I've got name, first name, last, and then as I choose these different options, notice how the secondary option here changes. And this could reveal and hide 2 or 3 different types of fields. It's up to you. But if you need that ability to make some fields conditional, one of the things that we talk about here is the more fields that you ask for, the fewer people that you're going to have fill out that form. So if there's certain information that you need to request based on what they tell you, but you don't need it based on other options that they tell you, now you can make that form dynamic to remove the overall fields that aren't always necessary. You can now make it adaptable based on the particular person's responses. So let's check this out. Let's go back here a little bit further. There's a couple other things that I want to show you. What you can also begin to do beyond that is you can begin to put in calculated fields. Okay, so I can enable calculations. One of the things that you can pull over here is a standard field here called number. You can pull that number over here, and then you can enable calculations. So many times I've talked to customers that say, hey, I want to do some sort of a score. Maybe I want to do a quiz. Gravity Forms actually has a whole plugin for polls and otherwise, and I didn't purchase that particular level, so I can't demonstrate that one here, but they have some additional plugins as well that will integrate with some other options that they give to you. But what you can do here as well is you can begin to do some calculations based on their responses in other fields. So I can set this up to look at certain fields that they've already responded to, and then I can begin to calculate based on those fields. Now, why is this beneficial? Well, there are some great plugins out there that do some calculations in Infusionsoft. There's plugins out there like Tactical Actions and Plus This that will take a couple different fields that you have in Infusionsoft and add them up. But sometimes what I've found when I'm working with customers is that they're feeling a strain with custom fields. And in order to use that particular feature of Plus This and Tactical Actions, you actually have to create custom fields for every single one of the questions that you're asking. I've had a number of people who say, I just want to be able to add some stuff up. Maybe I apply tags based on their responses, but I just want to be able to add up their responses. I want to be able to perform a calculation and then just store the calculation. I don't need to store the other information. Well, Gravity Forms gives you a way to do that, because when it comes to talking to Infusionsoft, because there's been an Infusionsoft and Gravity Forms plugin that's been created. I wouldn't be showing you this if you couldn't then leverage that with Infusionsoft. I wouldn't be showing you a form that you could use that wouldn't kick off some automation as well. So what you're able to do to now take this to the next level is this. If you go to a plugins option here, you can search for a plugin. Let me leave the page here. You can search for a plugin called Gravity Forms Infusionsoft Add-on. And what the Gravity Forms Infusionsoft Add-on enables you to do, it now gives you an option here below the Gravity Forms tab that says Infusionsoft. The first thing you have to do is you have to add it to, right here under Infusionsoft. This is where you are able to customize your Infusionsoft settings. You connect it with your API key, your subdomain, so then it can communicate through the API with Infusionsoft. You don't ever have to even create the form in Infusionsoft. You can create it directly here on your WordPress site using Gravity Forms. Then you can push that information over to Infusionsoft through the API. Now here's how that works. Let's go right back here to Infusionsoft. Once I've created a form, I created that consult questionnaire. Once I've created that form, I can simply click Add New, and now I'm creating what it calls here an Infusionsoft feed. It's a connection there between that form, that Gravity form, and Infusionsoft. And let me show you how that works here. Consult questionnaire. So I'm able to first choose the form if I have multiple forms that I've created. And then what it does is it pulls all of my fields and custom fields as well as tags that I have within Infusionsoft. If I add new tags, I have to add the tags directly in Infusionsoft, add new fields in Infusionsoft, and then I can simply click refresh fields and tags, and that will update anything that I've created. Now, remember what I was saying here is we can go through and gather some of that information. Okay, so if we're gathering their email and their first name, what we see here on the left-hand side is our Infusionsoft fields. What we see on the right-hand side is the fields that we have available from the form. So right here, I can click email, and I'm simply field mapping. First name, field map that. Last name, field map that. Okay. Now, one of the other things that I mentioned to you was the ability to do some form calculations. So if, for example, you need to calculate some information, maybe you're asking for responses on multiple fields, and then you simply want to store the calculation, well, all you need to do is specify that field, that final calculated field, to link up to a custom field in Infusionsoft. You don't have to pass over the information from everything else because Gravity Forms is doing the calculation for you. It will then simply pass that final value to a single custom field. So now this enables you to save some of your custom fields within Infusionsoft to not just have to use them for doing calculations. Now, the question may be arising now, if I'm not creating a form in Infusionsoft, how am I kicking off a campaign? What am I doing? Well, what you're also able to do here is specify what it calls entry tags. These are basically tags that will be applied to everybody that fills out the form. In Infusionsoft, in the campaign builder, what you're able to do, let's go there. I'm going to go pull up a campaign real quick. Let me log in. What we're able to do within here is use a goal type. So I will add a new campaign here. We can use a goal type within here that is an apply tag. So if I say Mastermind Gravity Forms, instead of coming right here and choosing a request information that we're going to track with this option for submits a web form, now what we're able to do is instead change that to say this is going to happen. We're going to trigger some sort of follow-up when a tag is applied. And so I've already gone in and created a tag for us, and that tag is my submitted the survey consult questionnaire form. And then I can simply configure that. It's just swapping out the goal. So instead of tracking that goal as an Infusionsoft form being filled out, now we're just going to track that as a form or a tag being applied. And then it will pick up and it can trigger any sort of follow-up sequence that we need. For example, let's go right back here. Entry tags. Whenever this form is submitted, I want to apply a tag here that is this submitted tag. Do note here that this particular display of your tags does not include categories. So you may want to be a little bit more descriptive on your tag name instead of just saying something like submitted. So that's how you can trigger your follow-ups. within Infusionsoft. This will push the information over to Infusionsoft. It adds with dupe check. That's an API call. Add with dupe check is it looks to see if that email address already exists within your system, and it will simply update that record. So we've got the forms coming across. We've got the form information, email, name, first name, last name. We've got that calculated field coming across. We've got a tag coming across based on anybody. It will be given to anybody that fills out that form. And finally, we can have conditionally added tags, which are basically like tags that can be applied based on certain responses. So for example, if I want to track their response, the fact that on my question, how long have you been in business? If I want to track what their response was, using a tag is a great way to do that. And so I can create something here. I can say, if these conditions are met, I can choose an option if it is or is not selected. If you select this particular option, well then, I want to apply the business less than 1 year tag. If you choose the 1 to 3 option, I want to apply the other tag that I've got here. Where is I don't know what the sort order here is. I've been trying to figure that one out. Here we go. Business 1 to 3 years. This one down here, I can do business 3 to 6 years. And this final one here, I can say, I think 6+ years is down towards the bottom. And now I've created conditional tags that will be applied as well. So I can click update feed. There's one other option down here, opt-in conditional. It seems like what this one can do is filter who even gets passed to Infusionsoft. So if you don't get particular responses, or you do get particular responses that eliminate that person, I think you can stop that person from even being added to Infusionsoft. So that's what we're able to do here. We can create that form. We saved everything. Now here's what happens. I can go right over here to my particular page. Whoops, let me delete this. I'll get back to this here in a moment. Okay, what we're able to do here is now edit this information. So if I say Scott Richens, I'm just going to say mastermind here so I can test that out. My email address, less than 1 year. It gives me some additional information here, but I didn't map this to pass over to Infusionsoft. I could have if I wanted to, and then I can hit submit. So that will then pass that information over to Infusionsoft. If I go pull up my Infusionsoft application now and do a quick search there, sometimes it takes a moment for that API to go through, but if I search by MMTest4 at ScottRichens.com, I now have this that's been updated. I think this was in there already, but it says Scott Richens Mastermind here. And if I check tags, it gives me the tag here that says submitted on that one. I've been playing around with some of the conditional actions, so I think there was something that I set incorrectly for that other tag that should have been applied. But I tested it earlier today and it was working out perfectly. So that's what you're able to begin doing here with the Gravity Forms plugin. There's 2 things that it takes to make this one work. It's the Gravity Forms plugin, which you can get by going to gravityforms.com and check that one out. That one is a paid plugin. To make it talk to Infusionsoft, what you also have to do is go get the plugin that is the Gravity Forms Infusionsoft plugin. And that is a free plugin that's been developed. It looks like that was developed by Katz Web Services. I believe they're an Infusionsoft user out of Denver area. So big shout out to them. Big thanks to them for taking a powerful plugin here of Gravity Forms and making that something that can connect to Infusionsoft and make that free to the community there. So be sure to give him a shout out and a thanks there if you choose to use that. Now, that's one part of what I wanted to show to you here today. Now, there's another one that I wanted to cover. This was a shout out here from Jordan Hall. Jordan Hall comes to us. He's a Infusionsoft certified consultant as well. He works with a company called Site Traffic Control. That is his company. They do a lot on SEO optimization and such. And the plugin that he recommended was one called URL Params. Now, URL Params was actually developed by another person, and that guy is Jeremy Shapiro. That name may sound familiar. He also developed a plugin called FuseDesk, and he was on here about a month ago doing helping me feature FuseDesk here and show you how you could use that plugin. He created another free plugin called URL Params, and what you're able to do is search for that. It's a free one that, again, you can download from the WordPress plugins directory, and you can install that one. Now, what URL Params enables you to do is go through, let me pull something up here. URL Params enables you to go through and begin pulling in information from the URL, from the query string. So here's what I mean. If I refresh this page, oops, let me go back here, mastermind sample, here we go. Notice how I've got the, I've got name in here, email in here. You may have noticed sometimes that within Infusionsoft, what you're able to do is on thank you pages, you can customize the thank you page. So it says thank you, and then it inserts somebody's first name. Or you may have noticed that when you send somebody to a form from Infusionsoft, from an Infusionsoft email, what you can do is you can pre-populate some of the information that you already have about them. Now, here's what you're able to do. Look right here where it says welcome, friend. If I were sending somebody to this page that was in my database already, and I wanted to now customize this page, this is great for landing pages. Okay, if I wanted to customize this page based on information that I already have about them, URL Params enables me to do that very, very easily throughout my site. So watch this. If I come into this particular page, let me go to Pages, and underneath Pages, I've got this one called Mastermind Sample. What URL Params enables you to do, they've got this information there on their site or in the notes portion here of the plugin. Says other notes. What you can do is simply grab this code that says URL param equals, and then you tell it what the parameter is. Okay. You can also choose this other one if you want to have a default backup. I would recommend that you do that. So I copied this one right here, and then I place that in place right here. Now, here's what happens on that. This param, what it's looking for is it's looking at the URL. Okay, so it's looking right up here, and we're able to pass information in the URL in the query string. And so this one right here already is telling me what page, what I can simply do. So notice that parameters have to start with a question mark. So if I were to be creating this and I didn't already have a question mark there, I would start with a question mark. But since I already have one, I'm just going to add something else here. So now I'm going to say first name equals Scott. Oh, I did a dash here. I didn't say equals. First name equals Scott. Now notice how this updated right here. First name, this parameter that I'm passing matches first name right here. And what this code is giving me default, it's saying in the absence of this parameter being present in the query string, fill in this default that says friend. We do that in Infusionsoft as well. If you don't have a first name field, you can tell us what you want to have that do. So now what this is enabling you to do is extend the personalization of not just your emails, but also your landing pages. So if I'm directing somebody to a landing page that I've created, then I can use this URL parameter, and it will then pull that information in from the query string. Now, there's a number of things that you can do with this. I'm showing you first name. You may have also noticed that down here, I had it populate the field. So what you're able to do is let me show you what you can do with the fields as well. So this URL params, or this pulling in from the query string, passing information in the query string, can also be useful with Gravity Forms. So if I go back over here to Gravity Forms, okay, the URL params, it's pretty simple. That's all you're using. So I'll show you how you can use that a couple other ways here, pulling from the query string with forms now, but you can insert this anywhere that you need to in your site. Just change the parameter if you need to pull different information. What you can do by passing information in the query string, the URL string, is also pull that into a form. So with that Gravity Forms back here, let me pull this up. What you're able to do on each of these, let me click Edit. I can now say Advanced Allow this field to be populated dynamically. And what that's telling me is we can pass information in the query string, which is what we're already doing with URL params to customize the page. Now we can pre-populate forms. So for example, I go right down here, it's asking me to give it a parameter name. Well, heck, I'll just give it the same parameter that I already have for the URL params. So it populates both areas. First name, done. If I had a last name, I could do that as well. Close. Let me do email. If we take a look at email, advanced, I can pass email using that information as well. So now what I've got here is the ability to not only pass my first name, but now I can say email equals, and I can do that same test that I just did here a bit earlier. And notice how now it pre-populates my email address. Now, what else can we use this with? What's beneficial about this? Now, there are some things that you can do. If you're wanting somebody to take a poll, you're going to send somebody here. This is something that you can do with Infusionsoft forms, but you can also now do it here with these gravity forms. What you can do is now you can hide some of this information. So if I know I'm going to send a customer to a form here, I'm going to send them to this particular page, maybe to take a quick survey. If I want to know who they are, well, what I can do is I can put this email field on here. I can pass it just like I showed you here. So we can say, pass the first name in here and pass the email address in here, and it will populate these fields right here. Notice how that's happening. But what I can then also do, if there are fields that I don't want them to be able to change, for example, this email, I don't want them to change it, or perhaps I don't want them to see it. I can go back here to Gravity Forms, and I can say, make this visible to admin only. Basically, it's the equivalent of an Infusionsoft hidden field. So as I update this form is now updated. I'll go back over here, and I will refresh this page. And notice now that email field is gone, but if we jump in the background here, it's still capturing that information. Okay, in that, let's go right down here next. Okay, so in that email field, it still passed that information to the email field. Why is that important? Well, the email is what will be used to check duplicates within your Infusionsoft application. So if I send an email to somebody that then directs them to this page and it pre-populates their email address, then what we're able to do when they submit that form, it will already tie that back to their original contact record. So there's no deduping necessary. It does that when it passes the information here to Infusionsoft. So that's a very powerful feature that you can begin to use within here as well. And you can then hide whatever fields that you need to. One of the other things that Jordan mentioned here, Jordan Hall mentioned with site traffic control, he mentioned that they use that a lot to track lead source information. So when they're doing advertising campaigns, they're passing somebody across to a particular page, and they're passing that information. They're now saying what ad they came from or what particular banner they came from, and they're passing that information in the URL string and then passing that along to Infusionsoft in a hidden field like we just did there with the email. So it's not just for first name and last name information. You can do it with additional information that will help you track the sources of your leads and where they came from. Anytime that you're creating something within Google doing AdWords perhaps, or any banner advertisements, you're able to specify a particular URL that you're going to send them to, and all you have to do is build this query string right here, build this URL string to pass that information that you need, and then create the field, visible or hidden, that will then receive it and pass that information over to Infusionsoft. So that's a very powerful feature that you're able to then use here. URL params to customize information. Let me show you one more thing with that. So like I just showed you email, if we wanted to now pull in email, if we want to pull in multiple types of information, again, all we do here, let me pull up that particular page. All we do is take this information and change the parameter. So if here now I say email, default here would be no email. I would choose something else here, but just choosing something here quickly, I can update that page. And so now instead what that's going to do is now it will pull in my email address as well. So basically we can use that to intersperse and customize anything that we need to on this particular page. Now, there's something that I've been referencing here quite a bit that some of you may be going, Scott, what do you mean send it over in an email? How do I send this information to the page in the first place? How do I create this and customize this and make a dynamic page when I'm sending an email to somebody from Infusionsoft? Well, here's what you can do. Let me jump back over to Infusionsoft, and I'm actually going to close out of this one. Let me go to a template. Let's just say I'm sending out a newsletter broadcast, okay? And I'm creating a template to then send that out. Well, here's what we can begin to do. As I'm creating my email template, what I can do is set that up. I need a sample subject, not being very creative right now. When I'm creating these links that will be sent out, what I'm able to do is create a custom URL. So let me get this prepped by pulling in a paragraph here. Okay. So if I wanted to say, sign up for my upcoming event, I could now take that right here and I could turn that into a link. But where do I want to send them? Well, I want to send them here. And I've already built my parameters here, so I'm just going to copy this. And I'm going to go back over to Infusionsoft, and that's where I want to send them. Now, the problem is here, I have preloaded this information. Okay, so right here where I've got that email, that would be a custom email. I don't want it to be it would be a hard-coded email. I want it to be a variable email. So what I can grab, this is another ninja trick here that's really helpful. What I can do is I can customize the query strings here. So if I go back and pull a merge field, I can pull in a first name and I can pull in an email address, and I want that information. Okay. And what I can do with that information now is I can now make this variable right here. So in this email, what I can do is I can say, I'm going to paste in, whoops, not that. One second here. I'm going to paste in that contact.email. So what that's going to do is that will now pass in the link their customized email address. Instead of my hard-coded first name here, I'm going to pass that first name. And then I'll say insert and update. Now what that will do is every time this email gets sent out, that link will become a new link, a unique link. And that unique link will then be something that will customize the page. So if I say save, close builder, and go through, and I can do a save and send test here. Let me pull up my mail on another screen. It may take a moment for that one to come through. There we go. Here's the particular email. Pull that one back here. Okay. And then as I click through on this, it will pass that information, which begins to customize the page. So you're able to begin doing that with just about any information that you need to pass. If you want to customize something based on their city and merge in their city, great. You just create a parameter in the query string and merge in their city. If you want to do their state, if you want to merge in their phone number, if you want to merge in their owner's name, if you want to personalize the page so that it looks like it came from their sales rep or their contact owner and merge in that unique phone number, you can do all of that by passing it through the query string and then using URL params to begin to customize that particular page, the content of that page. So let me check my notes here real quick. I have some other stuff that I can go through, but we can also come back through and do some additional ones in the future. There was one last one that I was going to point out here on this particular session, and it also has to do with page design. I probably won't be able to get in as deep into that one, but I will go ahead and preview that one for you real quick. Many of you may be familiar with Optimize Press. Optimize Press is a great tool out there for creating landing pages. And what you're able to do, this is another paid product here that you can purchase. It's great for creating landing pages. They've got a lot of great templates, very easy to create a stylized landing page. So Optimize Press is a great one to use. The thing that can sometimes be difficult about it is if you want to put it on your existing domain, you have to do a secondary WordPress install. It's a theme. So I showed you how to use that. I showed you here how to use the responsive theme. Well, I would have to choose a different theme for my entire site if I wanted to use Optimize Press. One of the benefits of using another tool is the fact that it's a plugin. That other tool is one called Instabuilder. Not Insta. And what you're able to do with this particular one, again, this was another one that was recommended by Gareth Everson and David Holland, a couple of our guys coming out of the UK. This is one that they recommended, and the reason they like this one is because it's not a theme like Optimize Press. Instead, it's a plugin that you can then turn a particular page into a landing page that you design using this particular plugin. Again, this is another paid one. You can get a single site license for $47, use it on one site, whatever. If that's what you want, then fantastic. Let me show you what you're able to do with it. You can come in, you can create a new page. So you can simply create a new page, and as you're creating that page, what you're able to do, oh, I forgot to show you with Gravity Forms what you can do to add that form to a post. If you want to add that form to a post, let me stick with this real quick. If you want to add a form to a post, all you do is click that button. It installs it right there. Add a form. Boom. Place this within my post, insert some code, and you've got a post. There's even a widget box that you can put it in your sidebar. I almost overlooked that part. I apologize. But that's how you can add your Gravity Forms here to a particular page or to a particular post. Sticking with Instabuilder, let's go back to that. What I can do is I can take this page and I can turn it into a landing page. So like I said, unlike Optimize Press, which will be an entire theme, all of your pages will be of these landing page sorts. What we can do instead with Instabuilder is actually just turn it on for a particular page, and what it will do is it will then override the theme that we already had in place. So now what I can go through and do is specify a particular page type. I can choose a page design. Maybe I just want a clean look. I can choose a color that I want to utilize on this one. And then I can begin to customize things. Really, there's not any code that you have to touch here. They've made it very simple to go in. If you want to customize the background, you can change the background. If you want to upload a logo, you can upload a logo. Now, here's what's pretty slick about it. If I want this to have an Infusionsoft opt-in form on it, I can do that actually quite easily. So let me create this real quick. This will be my Instabuilder sample. Let me say publish. And then let's go view that page. Okay, so here's what it's giving me here by default. Now what you can go in and do is begin adding content very quickly. So I stay down here in my bottom portion. What I'm able to do is add an opt-in form. And so to add that opt-in form, I go to Infusionsoft. Now this is different than Gravity Forms. I'm not creating the form in WordPress and pushing it through the API. Instead, what I'm doing with Instabuilder is I actually create the form in Infusionsoft. So it becomes an Infusionsoft form. I created this here a little bit earlier, and I created a form, standard Infusionsoft web form. Put in all the form fields that you need. I will tell you, don't waste your time stylizing it. Just throw your form fields in here. I've got a first name and an email address. What you can then do after you've published it, make sure that you publish it. You can come and grab the code. And that code that you'll want to grab is the HTML code unstyled. You just want the bare raw code, because now what you're able to do is take that, copy that, and paste that right in here. Okay, bare raw code. What Instabuilder will then do is it will then customize that and add that into the look and feel of the particular page. So I can set that up. Here's my autoresponder code. I can choose if I want to do a Facebook Connect. I didn't dive deep into that because I want it connecting here through my form, but if you want to know more about that, you can. I can customize all my title information, opt-in information, images. Simple form integration is what you'll use if you're just doing first name and email. If you want to do advanced stuff, you can do that as well. We'll stick with simple. What I can also do is customize the labels. So let me show you what's going to happen here. I will say update, and I'm going to copy this information here. Let's go to that particular page. Notice now how I have a form within here. And this is an Infusionsoft form. I can customize the information right here. Enter your first name, enter your email address. I can customize that information by simply changing the text. Sorry, if I go to opt-in, I can scroll down. I can change enter your first name to just say first name. I can change the email here to simply say email. If I want to change the button, I can change the button here. They've got some pre-built buttons that'll help you out. Privacy notice, whatever you want to do. Perfect. Update, and now my information here has been updated. Okay. Now, what I can also do within here is if I want to put in a video, I can paste in a video. And so I can either do a hosted one, I can do an embed video. I think I've got some code here that I saved from earlier right there. I can change the size. So really what it enables you to do is go through and create a landing page that ties into Infusionsoft, and there's essentially no code that you have to utilize. Let me go back to that, refresh one more time. Okay, now I've got a video within there. I can customize headlines, I can customize all kinds of information, but really Optimize Press does this extremely well. Also, what Instabuilder does is it's a plugin, so you can use it on your same domain and simply create a particular landing page within a theme that already exists. So you don't have to create a different WordPress installation. So that's what I wanted to cover here today. Those are three or four of the plugins that I really wanted to cover to help you guys out. So here's what I'm going to do. We are getting close to the top of the hour. I want to take a quick poll from you guys. I know I didn't get to a lot of the questions here, so I will circle back around and start going through all of those questions. Let me ask you a quick poll here. Give me some feedback. And let me know what you think about the content that we covered here today. If you like this particular topic that we covered, let me know. Vote this one up, and we will create a series out of this one because I know there are so many things that you can do with WordPress and with some WordPress plugins. So give me some feedback on this one. Let me know what you thought of it and the coverage. If you want to give me some more detailed feedback as well, please feel free to send me an email. Just hit respond there on the email that I sent you yesterday. If you want to give me some shout outs as far as some other plugins that you may want to see featured or that you have utilized yourself, I'm going to recommend let's start a conversation going on Twitter. Let's go over to Twitter here. Feel free to give me a shout out on that. Scott Richins is my Twitter handle. What you can also do, I would request that you use the handle or the hashtag ISMastermind. ISMastermind. If there are some plugins that you've been using that you found have been great for you, post up on Twitter about that. Send that message to me or just use the hashtag ISMastermind. And if there's any of you out there that want to see that conversation going on, go ahead and go start following that thread there, following that hashtag ISMastermind for Infusionsoft Mastermind. And let's get some conversation going on that one. I'd love to hear from you guys on what you've used. If you've used any of these and you've got some great experiences with those, then fantastic. If you haven't used them and you want to find out from others that have, perfect. Ask the question there, but let's get that going as a public forum so that you can hear from some other Infusionsoft users. I'm going to go ahead and close the poll here in 5 seconds. If you haven't voted and give me your feedback there, let me know. I'll close that down in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Perfect. We'll close that down. Again, thank you very much for your feedback there. I'm going to save that information. Perfect. Now, here's what I want to do. I want to start going through some of the questions that have been asked and that have been asked here. Let me grab a drink first. I've been talking for a lot. Drew, great question on. Drew's asking about a webinar that was done with one of our other partners here, Wes Schaefer, one of our ICCs. Drew, you'd have to reach out to Wes on that one. I'm not connected with that particular one, but I'm sure Wes will know about it. Let's see. Mark said, I believe Infusionsoft forms limit the number of fields as well. I've not reached a limit, Mark, as far as the number of number of fields that you can put on a form. I know there's a limit to the number of fields, custom fields that you can create within Infusionsoft, and that limit is 100 custom fields. Most customers never need that, but if you start doing polls and otherwise, then that's where that becomes challenging. David, I apologize. David said, please define CSS. Sorry about that. CSS is cascading style sheets. If HTML, your HTML code is really what defines the content of your pages, your website, CSS is what defines the layout. Cascading style sheets. So basically, you're able to reference a layout structure which tells the pages how to display. It tells the colors. It tells the fonts. It tells the organization. So David, that's what CSS stands for. Frank, got your question there as far as Gravity Forms plugging in with Infusionsoft. There is a free plugin there. Lauren said, can you use Gravity Forms even if you already have a theme on your WordPress site? Lauren, absolutely. Gravity Forms, one of the things that I didn't point out there well was the fact that it simply takes on the CSS. Actually, I did begin to point that out. It simply takes on the look and feel there of your site. Notice here as well, it even begins to shift up, very easily there within my responsive framework. Okay, so that's another thing. It's taking on and inheriting the CSS aspects that control the style there. So it's inheriting that responsive aspect here of the site. What it also includes there, as it is a plugin, it will not overwrite your existing theme. Since it is a plugin, what it can enable you to do as well, let's go here to our widgets, which will be like our sidebar widgets. There is a form option right here that you can simply drag over. I've placed that one here. You can drag that form over, give it a title, give it a select which particular form it is, and say save. Then what that does for you is it will display it here. Now, here's what I also noticed about it. Notice how I have this consult questionnaire form right here. That form was the same one that I wanted to place in this box. So it's intelligent enough to only display the form once on a page if you use the same one. If I go to another page, notice that form now displays. And it will adjust still just like it had previously. So Lauren, hopefully that answers your question there. Let's see, next question. Cheryl asked, do checkboxes have a required option in Gravity Forms? I did not get into that particular option, but based on what I've seen there, it would seem that they do. Let's go checkboxes. They've got plenty of options on stuff. Actually, you just click it. Sorry, I'm used to a drag and drop option. You've got checkboxes here. Rules required. So it looks like you can require those particular checkboxes as well. You can remove which particular options and otherwise change them around. Just noticed a question that came in here from Chris. Chris just asked me, he said, will these add-ons mentioned today slow down WordPress? I didn't ask that question in particular. If anybody out there has has insight into that one from having used it, go ahead and give me a shout out there. Let me know here, and I'll circle back around to that question in a while. But I wanted to see that particular thought. The gentleman that I spoke to, the couple guys that I spoke to about this one, they use it. They swear by both of these particular plugins and use them on pretty much every site that they use for customers. Let's see, Ross, I think I covered your question there on how to submit that to Infusionsoft. Drew, did you get clarity on your question there, how to trigger campaigns in Infusionsoft from how to trigger campaigns from the Gravity Forms? You just use the apply tag option. Awesome, perfect. Gary, I think you clarified your question here, but let me get into that. Under that Gravity Forms option, he was asking the question, sorry, Infusionsoft. It's the Infusionsoft plugin portion of the Gravity Forms plugin. What you're able to do is specify the account subdomain. That is your application name. So this is my application name. It's JSR is what mine is in particular. Brooke, did you get clarity on your particular question? Brooke asked, can the tag pick up a tag for a sequence that already exists? For instance, they sign up for something, and by doing so, they are also entered into your newsletter campaign. Brooke, did you get clarity on that particular question? You're able to choose from any of your existing tags on that? Okay. You're able to choose from any of your existing tags within that Gravity Form. So if we go back over there, and we're creating a form in Gravity Forms. So what I describe this as, it's kind of like playing catch. You got to have the throw, and then you got to have the catch, okay? It's like I picture playing catch with my dad out throwing the baseball. Somebody throws it, and then you got to have somebody on the other side to receive it, to catch it. So the throw that initiates this is on that particular form. Sorry, this is underneath the Infusionsoft plugin. We've got to work on this on the Infusionsoft plugin. What you're able to customize there is every time this form is submitted, what we're able to do is specify a tag that is going to be applied as well. And so we specify that tag right here. We can choose from any of our existing tags. You have to create them in Infusionsoft first. You specify that tag. The entry tags are tags that will be applied to everybody that fills out the form. You can also do conditional tags based on radio button options that they might have selected. Okay, so those are your two options. One that's applied to everybody, one that's applied conditionally. Regardless of which way you're applying that tag, what you are then able to do is hop over to Infusionsoft, and within Infusionsoft, you can use a goal type here that is tag is applied. Okay, so then you can have this tag goal. What this goal is doing is it's looking for that tag to be applied. So as soon as Gravity Forms passes that through the Infusionsoft plugin to Infusionsoft, it will apply the tag. This will then pick up and run at whatever sequence comes after it. So I think the question that you're asking is, you're saying, hey, what if I have a sequence that already exists? So what if you've already got a form in place on your site somewhere, and you already have a follow-up sequence here. If we grab a follow-up sequence, I've already got a sequence in place here. I simply want to trigger the same sequence with this new form. Great. Create this apply tag goal and drag it into the same sequence. Perfect. And that'll get you set. Does that help there, Brooke? Does that clarify for you? Go ahead and give me some feedback there if you need something else. All right, perfect. Drew's excited that Gravity Forms now works with Infusionsoft. Again, big shout out there. I think that was Kat's. Let's go right back in here to Pages. Kat's Web Design that put that one together. Kat's Web Services. So big shout out to them for building the bridge there between the two of these platforms. Let's see, Charlie, good to see you on here again. Charlie was the one that recommended our topic for last week's mastermind and that y'all voted up. Charlie said, I assume there's still no way to go from the Infusionsoft contact key that's added to every link from Infusionsoft email to the query string to the contact details so we can pre-populate the Gravity Forms. Charlie, I'll have to take a look at that one. Can you drop me an email again or hit me up on Twitter there, Charlie? Send me a reminder on that so when I get back to my desk, I pick up on that particular one. Let me take a look at that. What he's talking about is every time somebody clicks a link in an email, what happens is Infusionsoft can and does by default automatically pass something to the query string that says Infusionsoft contact key. What it is that's an encrypted key that then via the API our it's built into our JavaScript forms and our landing pages. It will go through and it will pull that contacts information. Charlie, I've not looked to see if there is a way to I've not looked to see if there is a way to go through and actually use that outside of the Infusionsoft JavaScript forms. So drop me an email and I'll check into that one. Looks like Gareth just jumped on the call here. Gareth is the gentleman that I referenced here a couple times. Gareth, we've been talking about a lot of things that you and I chatted about here, so good to see you jumping on. We appreciate the recommendations that you made for our call here today. And I want to point out there were a number of ICCs that jumped in and made some recommendations. And if we keep doing this one in the future, which it looks like we'll do at least one or two more of these, I'll pull in some of the other ICCs and the recommendations that they made as well. So thanks, big thanks and shout out to our Infusionsoft certified consultants community. Even if Wes is giving me grief here in the questions portion. Let's see. Tony said, "Is there an Infusionsoft consultant that you suggest that has experience setting up Gravity forms?" Gareth is one. I know Sean Tierney with Grid 7 is one. Are there any other ICCs here that are on the call that have experience with Gravity forms? If you've worked with that, go ahead and just post here in the questions section. I'll give you a shout out. Tony, you could also reach out there to the community, jump on the marketplace and reach out to a few of them there. Let's see, Cassandra. Let's see if Cassandra, it looks like Cassandra's still with us here. Cassandra, thanks for sticking around. She said, "What were you using to view the different copied fields to paste into the string?" Cassandra, I think you were, I was wondering if somebody was going to ask about that one. I've got a little plugin that I use here called Clip Menu. Super helpful. She was asking about this thing that I used. I like to save time by copying and pasting lots of things at the same time. So I had to copy a couple of those options. I use this. It's called Clip Menu Freebie for Mac. There's equivalents for PC, but it allows me to copy a lot of things, and it just saves them here in my history, so I don't have to go back and forth and back and forth. So that's just a little non-Infusionsoft tip that I love using. Yeah, I use that all the time. Plus, you can also put in some constant replies, so I get people always asking for the Virtual Academy recordings, pages, checklists, all kinds of stuff that I just save things that I paste all the time. Danny said, "Is there a way in Infusionsoft to apply a tag based on what a client puts into a field?" Danny, the answer to that would be yes. And what you're starting to get into is the, let me jump in here. What you're starting to get into is our logic on things. So that logic now is going to be based on having multiple sequences here. What you're then able to do is say, okay, great, let's look at their fields. If there's fields that we've stored in Infusionsoft, well, I'm going to take a look at one of those fields. I'm going to look at the contacts custom fields, and I can go choose one of those particular fields and say, are they greater than a certain amount? Are they lower than a certain amount? Is it within a particular range? Is it a different type of custom field? So you can choose from any of those fields, and then based on your logic that you place within these, what you can then do is send them to a different campaign. And within that campaign, the first thing that you can do is apply the appropriate tag. So Danny, that's how you're going to apply tags based on different types of information that they would place in either drop-down fields or other custom fields that you might have. Danny also asked, is there a way to trigger actions based on manual payments? That's a little out of scope here on this particular topic. I'll point you in the right direction though, Danny. On that one, what he's bringing up is manual payments and orders don't trigger goals right here within the campaign builder. So if there's a purchase that takes place in a manual order, it does not trigger within the campaign builder here. Danny, what you're going to want to look at doing is using the purchase actions that we've got. That's more of a legacy feature for our manual orders. We're working on getting those upgraded to tie into the campaign builder here. But you'll want to use the purchase actions in the legacy portion of e-commerce and simply have that product, when it's purchased, apply a tag, and then that tag can pick up here. So that's how you're going to do that one for now, Danny. If you got a suggestion there, Danny, go ahead and send that on to me. I'll forward it on to the right product manager that owns that particular part of the software, so we get it on their list. Joanna, I am recording here today. I will post that up and make it available. Feel free to follow me on Twitter, and I'll let you know as soon as that's available. Cassandra asked, does Instabuilder only have one layout, or can you choose from several like Optimized Press? They do have several options there. So if I go to that page that I was creating and I take a look at my sample page that I've got, they do have many different designs that you can choose from. And then if we just update that, let me go find where my Instabuilder sample is and refresh. So there's another option right there with the background. What I can also do is change the main page type to be something separate. So if I'm doing a single column page, awesome. That's going to be a completely different layout right here that I'm not sure where the form goes on that one. Haven't looked into that particular option as well, but you can do video pages, product launch pages. There's some different options that you've got within that, Cassandra. Let's see. Richard asked, Richard wants a preview. He doesn't want to wait. He says, can you just give the name of some other good plugins? There were some other ones on a lead side of things called Leadpages and Lead Player that give you lead page creation, kind of like Instabuilder, but they enable you to make them a little bit more interactive. You can throw up videos, opt-in pages midway through the video. There's some cool things that you can do with that. Duplicate post was a big one that came in from Gareth Everson as well, for just creating multiples of the same pages, so you can straight up duplicate a post. Some of the other ones that I'll talk about in the future that came in were iMember 360. That's always a big one. It just didn't fit here on the front end of lead capture that I was focusing on. iMember 360 is great for membership sites. Woocommerce is another one that is great for integrating Woocommerce, which is a plugin for selling through WordPress. It integrates that with Infusionsoft. iMember 360 comes from Bob Keane and ResponseFlow. Woocommerce comes from Information Street and Mark Summers. Both of them are ICCs. There are some SEO optimization ones that were recommended. SEO Press or SEO Yoast were both recommended by Deborah Hanchy. And if we want to get into those on future ones, we can do that. Pretty Links was a good one that came from Raven Howard. She uses those all the time for affiliate links that she uses within posts and such. And so those were a few of the other ones that had been recommended here that I can cover in some of the future webinars. Jeff, how to create the poll on the meeting? Jeff, that is a feature within GoToWebinar. Joanna, send me a message there on Twitter, and I will post out links to what we covered here today on the particular plugins that we covered. I'll just post those using the IS Mastermind hashtag once I wrap things up here. Phil, thanks for the feedback. Mike, where's the music coming from? I've got no idea. I'm not sure. Hopefully you're not hearing it, because I'm not hearing it. Let's see. Anne-Marie, awesome. Thanks for the feedback there. Is it Cayman? I'll get the post up here pretty quick. JC loved the feature here on Instabuilder. Would like recommendations for memberships that work with Infusionsoft within WordPress. Really, if you're looking to do it in WordPress, iMember 360 is the only way to go. There's some other ones, DAP and Wishlist. When it comes to an Infusionsoft integration, if you really wanted to integrate with Infusionsoft, go iMember 360 all the way. There's no other option on WordPress. So let's see. Chris, thanks for the feedback. Lana, thanks for the feedback here. Said it looks like Instabuilder was just what she needs. easy to use with WordPress, and loves the Gravity Forms information there as well. So awesome. Yeah. The nice thing there about Instabuilder, like I said, it's the pre-built themes and it's the lack of need to use code. So, I mean, that right there is a winner every time. That's why we have the drag and drop builder in Infusionsoft. And this is something that that can then help you take that even to the next level there. Let's see. Tom said, Scott, I'm building a responsive site using the responsive theme. Awesome. He said, my only hang up is trying to get the Infusionsoft shopping cart page or order forms to react responsively. Any ideas on that one? Right now, Tom, I don't have a recommendation for you on how to get those to react responsively. That is something that we are well aware of. I have heard many discussions around the need to be more mobile friendly and more responsive in our design frameworks that we have, including the drag and drop builders and the shopping cart and otherwise. So Tom, trust me when I say that is a big focus that we do have here within the company. I can't tell you an ETA on when that's going to happen, but we are working hard towards that. As far as right now, a short-term solution on that one, Tom, is I don't know that I have a good short-term solution for you, Tom. If any of my ICCs out there that are on the call have a good idea on that, let me know. I'll hook Tom up with you. Tom, feel free to drop me an email and let me know on that one. And if I get any responses from my ICCs here, I'll connect you up with the right person so that you can then work with them. Frank says, any good ideas for pop-ups upon entering and leaving the website? Really good example of this would be Upworthy. Yeah, Upworthy does that all the time. They've got a different pop-up poll question that they take all the time. I know within Instabuilder, there is an option here for an exit pop-up. Enable the exit redirect. So it can say, wait, stay on the page or cancel. They've got all kinds of stuff on here. You can limit people to only see the page one time. There's a lot of options there on Instabuilder. So Frank, when it comes to that exit pop-up, that is something built into Instabuilder. What's another good one here? Pippity is another one. Gareth is mentioned here. Gareth's the one that mentioned a couple of these here on this particular call already. He's one of our ICCs. Pippity.com, is that where that's at? Pop-ups here, pop-up plugins. So that may be one to check out there. Gareth, does that integrate with Infusionsoft pretty easily? Yes, it does. Okay, perfect. Gareth said John Jantz recommended that one. John Jantz of Duct Tape Marketing. He's another one of our partners. So coming from some good folks there. So yeah, if you need some more information on that one, Gareth, post up there about that on the using the IS hashtag. Post that up on Twitter if you don't mind, and get that conversation going. And then if some folks have some questions there, you can reach out to Gareth. Let's see. Joanna, how about working with Facebook plugins with the landing page plugin? Joanna, can you repeat that question there for me and ask that in a little bit different way? I'm not quite certain what you're asking there. Oh, hey, Gareth, while you're on the call here, Chris asked a question. One of our attendees here asked a question earlier on. He said, will these add-ons mentioned today slow down WordPress? So we talked about Gravity Forms. We talked about Instabuilder. Gareth, in your implementation of those, you said you do those quite often. Have you seen those slow down WordPress performance at all? Said everything slows down WordPress. All right. So has there been enough of a slowdown on that one that you choose not to use it at all? All right. So basically he's saying on that, the ROI that he sees on it, the effectiveness of the pages and the use of these within his pages, basically he finds an ROI on the usage of them. So while it slows it down a little bit, the return that he gets from the cleanness of the pages, being able to very quickly and easily launch things, launch these landing pages, launch these web forms through Gravity Forms, the ease of use and the return on that, he finds it's worth it. So let's see. We'll keep going here. Gareth says, go out and kill it here with one of these. Get a bunch of opt-ins and then just buy better hosting, better servers. Let's see. Chris, which plugin were you asking about there specifically? You were asking if it works there, Chris, with Thesis 2.0 and Genesis. Are you asking about Instabuilder? Are you asking about Gravity? Which were you asking about there in particular? Looks like we got Shlomo here. Says, I believe the code quality is what would make your WordPress site slow down, not the amount of plugins you've got installed. So just make sure that they're solid plugins, solidly coded plugins. Had a lot of people like that clip menu. Yeah, again, that's a free download that you can download. This one specifically for Mac. It's called Clip Menu. So you can just download that, free install, super handy. Mike's asking, are you saying Woocommerce? Woocommerce? No, it's, I apologize, and thanks for clarifying. It's Woocommerce, W-O-O. So it's a plugin that you can use here, and it comes from Woo Themes, W-O-O Themes, and they do a lot of themes and stuff for WordPress. Their commerce theme is one that you can build a e-commerce platform on WordPress. So it's a great plugin. There is a where is that particular link? There's a plugin from Information Street, like I said, Mark Summers, that he has then developed to connect WooCommerce, so you can place it right there on your own domain and stylize it there within WordPress, and then connect it to Infusionsoft. So that may be something that you want to check out. Tom said, any ideas on loading a contact's picture into a custom field and then having it come up as part of an API call through iMember 360 or equivalent? Ooh, Tom, I've got no idea on that one. As far as uploading the contact's picture, it sounds like you'd have to be doing some stuff there. If you wanted to put that in a field that you could reference, you'd have to do some hosting somewhere. And so I'm not quite certain how you would do that. That's more complex than I'd get into on this call anyways. You'd have to upload that to a server that you got somewhere, pull the URL, post that URL back into a custom field, and then I'm sure you could do it. But I'm not going to go any deeper on that one here specifically. Let's see. Getting close to the end of the questions here. One thing that Frank's recommending here, Tom, with your responsive themes, is just be careful how big your graphics are, because that'll break your responsive themes as well. Thanks for the shout out there, Frank. Don asked, Customer Hub versus iMember 360. Great question there, Don. It really depends on who you are. Infusionsoft.com/blog. We just had a post about this recently. Let me search. Just go, Don, go search on that. It's been something recently. It's from somebody named Kelsey Bratcher in our company here. Smart guy. You'll have to check that one out there, Don. I'm not finding it right now, but when it comes to using Customer Hub versus iMember 360, there are different pros and cons to each one of them. If you want it to reside on your WordPress site, then that Customer Hub is not an option for you. You'll want to use iMember 360. iMember, if you want something that is a hosted solution, then Customer Hub is the option that you want there. Just there's some different things that you would want to take a look at. Let's see. Joanna said, I want Facebook like it buttons and Facebook comments under the landing page. She's clarifying her question from earlier. How does that work with your plugin? So if we're talking about if we're talking about like that Instabuilder page, there are some different things that you can do here. They've got built-in stuff for your social sharing options here, so you can just turn those on or off if you want to. Tell them based on the theme where you want them to then be posted. I think the comments portion as well, you can do Facebook comments and discuss comments. So those are baked into that particular option. Does that help, Joanna? Let's see, what else here? Chris said, what suggestions on hosting? I use GoDaddy. Anything better for WordPress? Chris, I know there was a thread. There was a good discussion from some of our ICCs on that one recently. So I'll go pull that up and take a look. I use GoDaddy myself, but I don't have a lot of traffic coming to my site. It's not a live site. Some other ones that have popped up a lot, I know, are HostGator. HostGator is one that a lot of them choose to use there. Wes Schaefer here, one of our ICCs, uses HostGator. And Cheryl Hunt, another ICC here, she's chiming in. She uses HostGator also. Somebody else, Ernie, looks like one of our customers, Ernie, is saying psek.com is one that he uses. So I've heard from a lot of the Infusionsoft certified consultants. These are folks that make their money selling their services, helping you launch Infusionsoft and launch websites in your businesses. So they're going to choose what is most valuable for them and save their backsides so that they're not having a lot of trouble. So HostGator sounds like a big one for them. Tom, just reply to the email. Tom's asking what's the best email to contact me at. Just reply to the email that I sent out to you yesterday with the link for this particular webinar. Phil said, do you know of a Windows 8 equivalent for MailChimp? Phil, I've never used Windows 8, so I got no idea on that one. All those tiles scare me. I don't know what to do with it. If anybody knows about a Windows 8 equivalent for Clip Menu, again, go ahead and post that one up there on Twitter. Just use the hashtag there, ISMastermind, Phil. Keep an eye out on that, and if anything comes through, we'll help you out with that one. Let's see. Oh, Joanna, you're asking some clarification on which plugins I was showing right now. The plugin I was demonstrating with these sharing options was Instabuilder. This is your Instabuilder settings for this particular page. So that's Instabuilder that's got that plugged in. When it comes to the social sharing anywhere else on your site, again, you're not going to need a social sharing thing specifically for Gravity Forms, because Gravity Forms is designed to plug in to any of your posts or any of your pages or any of your widgets. So you don't have anything special as far as a plugin for Gravity Forms to allow those to be shared. Instead, you would just get a WordPress plugin. I know one of them that was mentioned here by one of our ICCs. Let me pull that up here real quick. Raven Howard, one of our ICCs, like to use one called Share This. That was one that got shouted out there when I reached out to them. So Raven Howard is one of our ICCs. She recommended one called Share This. She liked the visually appealing widgets for connecting people with her social media presences. All right, I think we've reached about the end of the questions that we've got here. Cheryl gave one more shout out here to HostGator. She said she loves that they've got 24-hour real live customer service. So that's one of the reasons she chooses them as well. So looks like I don't have any other questions coming through here. So we are going to go ahead and call it a day. Again, please feel free to keep the conversation going here. Jump on Twitter. Use the hashtag ISMastermind. I will post out links to the particular plugins that I've covered here today so that you can have access to those. What I will also do is use the IS Mastermind on that. If you've used any of these, you've had great experience with them, you've had bad experience with them, get the conversation going over there. Use that IS Mastermind hashtag so that people can follow that thread. If there are other ones that you'd either like to see us cover or that you have found that have been great for you, you'd like to share them, other plugins that you've used that you'd like to share with some other users, again, go ahead and post that out there. I'll keep an eye on that thread. I'll jump into the conversation and I'll start adding those to the list here. I'll give you a shout out if we choose to cover those in the future, and I may reach out to you to get some more details on how you're using that. So again, thank you so much for being here today. I will get this posted up. Mike's asking for my Twitter handle. Let me throw that up right here. And I actually forgot to modify this. That needs to say IS Mastermind. So my Twitter handle there is Scott Richens. Zoom in on this one a little bit, make it easier. There you go. So that's my Twitter information. Go ahead and reach out to me there. Tony, I think I missed a question here. I see you're referencing something that is ringing a bell. Yeah, Tony, which plugin are you referencing there? Yeah, Tony is asking about a new meeting tool, like a scheduling meeting plugin. One Battle of the Apps, Appointment Core. Yeah, that's not a WordPress plugin necessarily. I've not used that one extensively myself, although I know the developer on that one. Tony, they've got some great information over there on their site. I've not used that one myself, but I love what he says it does on that one. So I can't speak to that from personal experience. I've got a trial app on that one that I could go in and try it on. I just haven't had time to do it. From my understanding, it integrates with Infusionsoft, it integrates with GoToMeeting, and it integrates with Google Calendars. So there's a lot of cool things about that one, Tony. If you're scheduling meetings, I would definitely recommend that you check it out. So awesome. Hey, thanks so much, guys. I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up here. Don, I saw your recommendation there. That is on my list for the future, Don. So thank you so much. The one called LeadBright. They've got a couple of plugins that I'll talk about in a future one. So thanks so much for being here, guys. Appreciate it. Appreciate the questions. Appreciate the recommendations. Again, go ahead and give me a shout out there on Twitter. Reach out to me. Let me know what you thought. Let me know any other plugins that you're using. What is your favorite plugin? Let me know on that one, and let's go from there. So thanks so much. I will chat with you later, connect with you on Twitter, and I will let you know as soon as this recording is available so that you can review it if you'd like to. Have a great morning, great afternoon, wherever you might be, and I look forward to seeing you on a future mastermind call.